There's no doubt that director Céline Sciamma is a genius. From a McDonald's employee in Water Lilies to an international award-winning director, she's earned her place in cinema's Hall of Fame. We've all heard of Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Sciamma's most renowned masterpiece, but I want to talk about Water Lilies, her 2007 debut feature, a coming-of-age drama that explores unrequited love, friendship, sexuality, and much more. Today I'll focus on how Sciamma explores the feminine coming-of-age and perception through the characters Marie and Floriane. The film's protagonist is Marie, who is desperate to join a synchronized swimming team because her love for the sport. Floriane is a tragic depiction of the loneliness of the feminine coming of age. She's obsessed with how she is perceived, evident in her commitment to playing this sexually active mean girl role, which she has been labeled with. Her other teammates gossip about her and inquire on her impropriety and promiscuity.
C'est ce qu'on raconte, c'est tout. Que tu l'as déjà fait. Et avec plein de mecs. Ouais, c'est vrai. J'adore ça.
She acts as though it doesn't bother her, portraying this facade of sexual maturity to intimidate them, despite the fact that she's never had sex. It's her way of coping with her reality of being defined as sexually mature and liberated in the eyes of both men and women around her. In contrast, there is Marie, a beacon of innocence who is helplessly in love with Floriane without questioning it or really understanding it. Floriane feels seen by her, as Marie disregards the role that she's playing. She genuinely cares for Floriane, which is how a bond between them emerges. But Floriane is stuck with this constant tension between what she desires and what she thinks she should desire. When she's with men, she asks Marie to save her from them before it goes too far.
Si elle est relou, je te fais signe. Tu vas me sauver?
Then when she has intimate moments with Marie, they're always interrupted by men. For example, when they're moments away from kissing, and she gets pulled away by an older man. Perhaps this is a situation where she accepts the love she thinks she deserves. She's deeply insecure, resented by her peers, and so she gives into it. She turns herself into a sexually objectified being to gain some form of agency, as she knows that this is what the world is doing to her anyway, and so she does it on her terms. Additionally, Sciamma explores Marie's internal conflict, being so desperately in love with someone in a different stage of their coming of age. We watch the film following Marie's gaze, always directed at Floriane. She lets herself be used by her, because she'd rather have that than nothing at all. And these clawing emotions can't be explained through words when you're a teenager, and so Sciamma presents it visually. For example, Marie steals Floriane's trash and inspects it, takes a bite out of her half-eaten apple, an original Call Me By Your Name. But it reflects her confusing desire for Floriane, to be close to her, to long for her. These recognizable behaviors and rituals that love reveals within us, only to be followed by shame and a grotesque guilt of one's own actions. Though Marie eventually confronts Floriane about feeling used, and they grow closer, because being used is what Floriane knows best. She shares her experiences of being sexually assaulted, and Marie hasn't been through this. She doesn't understand what it's like yet. Thus, there is a difference in maturity between them, also represented by the physical line between them. For a woman in patriarchy, coming of age always involves men. It is becoming aware of one's role and often being represented as this object of desire. Floriane is always battling with perception, and I think that Sciamma uses the mirror as a tool to portray this. In the beginning, when Marie and Floriane share their first interaction, Marie is watching her as she checks her lipstick in the mirror. Floriane is observing how she is perceived, understanding her place in the world as an object of desire. In the end, when Marie finally confronts her own desire and kisses Floriane, they return to the same situation as the beginning. Floriane checks her lipstick and asks Marie to save her from the other men. Again, with the men interrupting their intimacy. But since she doesn't immediately pull away, but engages with Marie, not only here, but continuously throughout the film, Sciamma suggests that Floriane isn't aware of what she really wants, or perhaps suppresses it, as she's more concerned with who she is defined by others. Once Floriane is left, Marie confronts herself in the mirror, finally realizing what Floriane sees. Trembling in pain, she confronts herself, her lust, her desire, and it hurts to see it. The ending is brutal, as we realize that Floriane is always the object of someone's gaze. We can see it in this moment in her eyes, that she realizes what this is all about. Even if she did feel the same for Marie, it doesn't matter. What she finally had was a friend. Even her friend ended up seeing her the same way men do. She's always desired when all she wants is connection. Floriane is a representation of the loneliness of womanhood. One is always perceived, judged, if they have sex too much, too little. There is always this gaze, and the feminine gaze is really just a manifestation of the male gaze within women, as a woman's identity is always questioned in relation to a man. But then we have the closing scene, where Marie returns to her best friend, and they float atop the water. Synchronized swimming is a ubiquitous symbol of perception. The surface is beautiful, organized, but what lies below? The pain, the chaos, the conflicts, the uncontrollable. This is the case of every single teenager. We're all trying to maintain the surface that others see, this perfect perceived surface, when below we're all just panicking. And in the end, Marie jumps into the water, fully submerging herself, drowning in this chaos of messy emotions. But she comes back to her best friend, and they stay afloat together. It is a hopeful ending, filled with friendship. What I love about this film is that their sexuality isn't the main plot point. It is simply an ambiguous, undefined romance evolving around two individuals. There's no judgment of sexuality, just an exploration of it. Sciamma is a genius in the way that she's constructed these true teenage characters we recognize within ourselves, and the way she's portrayed both desire and perception, which is continued throughout her body of work. And if you haven't watched this film yet, I can warmly recommend it. Anyways, more video essays are coming, and I thank you all so much for your love and your support.